Hey, what's happening, spectacular spider friends? Welcome back to Marvel's Spider-Man, and this is your spider lore. And today we're talking about Old Man Peter Parker from Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2, number 58 from November 2003. The Last Stand Spider-Man. The Spidey costume that he wore right when he was killed in the future. And it's actually fitting that we're in the graveyard because this is where Spider-Man made his last stand. I know, kind of interesting, right? So, this character, he was Spider-Man for a long time, former Avenger. He had a son named Ben Parker, who of course he named after Uncle Ben, and Mary Jane left him, becoming his estranged wife because of his more violent tendencies and some of the other things that happened to Benjamin Parker as he went when he was older. He did some pretty bad things. How everything kind of spiraled down for older Petey, I guess you could say.
Rejected costume designs. Not bad, but I think the White Spider was definitely the way to go.
Yeah, White Spider, okay, good. So, if you're wondering how things kind of fell down for older Peter, well, he got into a, I guess you could say, tussle.
That Oscorp research station near here is freaking me out. Something weird's going on there.
Thanks. It's our neighborhood.
And I thought you were gonna do like a high five or something. Nope. These people, they really don't interact with Spidey at all. They just kind of give him tasks to do. But anyway, so this older Petey, he kind of spiraled down after some of his friends were killed by Kraven the Hunter. So basically, older Petey gets fed up and he's like, you know what? I'm older, I'm strong, I'm just gonna go murder Kraven the Hunter. But it didn't stop there. Spider-Man went all crazy and started like wiping out all of his adversaries, similar to what a crazy Tim Drake or Damian Wayne in the future have done. Yeah, I know, it's kind of interesting. So, eventually, his wife got so ticked off about what Peter was doing, and at this point, you know, the Avengers and everybody were kind of like, yo, Peter, what are you up to, man? This is just not right. So, ow. Yeah. And she left him, she took her son. He adopted a new attitude after wiping out most of his adversaries. And finally, he went the anti-hero route and killed Dr. Octopus by passing Doc's tentacle right through, like, the, you know, Doc's heart. It was pretty gruesome, actually. Which is very fitting for this unrelenting fury power that
Knocking the ever-loving stuffing out of dealers is my anti-drug.
And you people wondered why in the Arkham games I mute the sound effects.
On their way.
It's so that I don't get interrupted by useless chatter from in-game stuff. But there's some stuff that happened in this game that it's important to listen to because you never know when, of course, JJ's gonna pop on and some other stuff. So, anyway, after his wife left him and he got kicked out of the Avengers and he started offing his supervillains, he went from vigilante superhero to more like, you know, #1 fugitive in New York City in, like, the future and stuff like that. But for a while, for a couple years after, you know, going crazy and wiping out people, it wasn't until visiting Aunt May's grave in the future that he meets his end. And the NYPD actually give Petey a chance to surrender and come quietly because Spider-Man did a lot of good. But by that time, it was just kind of like, you know what? This is how I'm gonna go out, and he attacks the NYPD, which is kind of insane if you think about it. Intense firefight here. So he goes after the NYPD and he ends up getting killed. But what's interesting is his younger self is actually there thanks to Madam Web. And this is, of course, supposed to be the 616 Spider-Man. I don't know if they've retconned it or not. But, yeah, this was supposed to be his future. Married the girl he loved, had a kid, but then he went crazy and started wiping everybody out. So, I remember this comic, from '03 because younger Peter was there watching his older self, and he was like, you know, somehow I just know that this is the end of me. This is how it all ends. And Peter puts up a valiant fight against the police, but eventually he's just gunned down right in front of Aunt May's grave, and that was the end of Last Stand Spider-Man. How fitting that we actually die right now, because that's it. So, going back in the past, besides, you know, Last Stand's end, he wanted to go for a different type of costume because it was more or less like a quick change Spider-Man, and it happened after he became a fugitive, too. So it was simpler for him to just, like, don this jacket, pull out his old spider mask, and whatever jeans he was wearing at the time, that completed his costume, and that's how they did it.
I'm looking at a Fisk site where there's a lot of people, but not much work getting done.
That you can see. They're keeping it under wraps.
I'll turn over some rocks.
I like how she says keeping it under wraps. That's really interesting. So when Peter died, he was probably about like 50, mid to late 50s, something like that. Around the same age that Uncle Ben actually met his end, like 50s, 60s, something like that. But Mary Jane, they don't really tell you what happened. She becomes the estranged wife, she takes her son, and then you never really see much from her again. And she's not too happy with him. I don't remember if, like, Last Stand Peter Parker actually ends up being in the Spider-Verse. I don't really remember that. Because in the Spider-Verse, we actually had a Ben Parker, you know, actual Ben Parker, donning a costume very similar to, of course, the Last Stand Spidey. But he did appear again in Astonishing Spider-Man Volume 1, number 129, August 2005. And, yeah, that's pretty much all I remember about this costume. This is actually a really fun costume. The best thing about this suit that you're seeing in action right now is, of course, Unrelenting Fury, which means nobody, when you're in combat, can mess with you. You are brutal, efficient, super strong. The only problem is, of course, it only lasts about 60 seconds, but still, it is a great spider power to have in this game. And it works really well for people that aren't too good at combat, because if you're trying to go for really heavy combos and things like that, then you want to use Unrelenting Fury. Now, how this suit is unlocked is I believe you have to get at least 30 crime tokens, and it's not even available until you're like level 45 or 48, and you have to do a bunch of crime tokens in order to unlock it. But I would say it's worth it. I really do like this suit. I like the story of Last Stand Spider-Man, although years ago I remember him actually being at the grave of Mary Jane when he died as well. Like, he literally had nothing to live for. But I guess it's kind of sadder to think that, you know, he lost his family because of his spider antics and became an enemy of the people, an enemy of New York, and was gunned down by the NYPD, people that he actually protected in the past and did a lot of good trying to protect the city and the world. So to see him come down this dark path, it's kind of sad, you know? So when his younger self was looking at him in the graveyard and literally saw himself get gunned down, it kind of prevented this Peter Parker from ever being, because even when Peter gets to this point in his life, because I believe they changed Last Stand Spider-Man's universe to something completely different. It's a totally different Earth. No idea what it's called now. But I believe the whole Madam Web incident definitely retconned a bunch of stuff. Look out! Oh, I'm sorry you dropped this.
My sources say they're running exotic weapons out of that location. Explosives, rocket launchers.
Fisk does manage to get stuff you don't see outside the military.
That's to stay off the streets, by any means necessary.
A little thing about Ben. Yeah, I'm not using the quip power. But Ben's Peter's son in the future of Last Stand, as far as I know, he doesn't have any abilities or anything like that. Shadow, I'm busy. He's just a regular American citizen, and his mom's really proud of him and stuff like that. And he didn't really show any spider powers. Not to say that every time Peter and Mary Jane had children that they would have their father's superpowers.
It's kinda touching how badly you guys want to join your boss in jail.
Yeah, well, catch this. Also, I'm just gonna let this be known right now. When I'm kind of playing as this violent version of Spider-Man, it kind of wants me to go all Arkham-like. So, shocking thugs, using the environment to cause pain, throwing missiles back at people, all this fun stuff. Just try to ignore the cat. There's nothing I can do. I live with cats. But yeah, so Ben Parker was no superhero like his father, just your regular person. And Mary Jane, she was very supportive of Peter in this universe until he went off offing supervillains. And then, you know, fearing for her safety and that of her child, she left.
Got Big Willie's guys and his weapons all wrapped up like Christmas morning.
Well, you've got a red suit, so you're close enough to Santa Claus for me. Thanks.
How many more Fisk construction sites are there?
None. He had every one of them working overtime to bring in money.
Well, now he's gonna have a tough time keeping his operation running, which is bad for Fisk and good for New York.
I trust you've enjoyed yourself.
Willie, funny story. I was just at one of your buildings, and you'll be shocked to hear that there were shenanigans of the criminal variety. TLDR, Fisk construction is closed.
I have other sources of revenue, but you've inconvenienced me, and there will be consequences. My memory's long. My reach is longer.
I should make all the guys who've sworn to kill me fight it out for the privilege.
That'd be very interesting, Spidey, to have all the bad guys that don't like you, you know, cast in lots to see who gets to off you. That's kind of dark. So yeah, when I'm wearing this suit, I just definitely feel my Arkham roots. Like, this is an older, brutal Peter Parker, one that, you know, he just doesn't care about anything anymore. And it's because his friends were killed by Kraven the Hunter, so that was kind of the last straw for him. They don't really go into why he goes dark, other than just having, you know, his friends killed over the years. Everything just kind of accumulated, and he went dark. It could be JJ picking on him. They don't really go into a lot of it. Peter just kind of sees this older version of himself, and I don't really remember if he interacts with him all that much either. It's just the last stand of Spider-Man. You could probably make like a huge synopsis, or, you know, what do they call it? Not trivia.
We have a hostage situation involving
Can't think of the word.
Reported location is near Lincoln. Over.
Theory video about why, you know, Peter went so dark and twisted, because he had a good life, even though he lost Aunt May, which is not really a unheard of thing. It happens a lot where Aunt May just ends up biting the dust.
They've got prisoners. I don't know what they're charged with, and I don't want to let dangerous people back on the streets.
The real criminals they turn over to us. The people they hold on site haven't done anything they can make a case over.
I can think of at least 2 amendments that violates. Okay, looks like I'm staging a jailbreak.
It was also interesting to note that Peter was an Avenger in that universe as well. Alright, so this area we need to do a bunch of stealth takedowns. I'm probably just going to stick to the regular stealth takedowns, like just using the webbing from far away. Although if I want to, I can sneak behind some people, so let's see how that works. I would like to see what the takedown looks like, because this is literally my first time using this suit. There we go. And Amber and I have plenty of Spider-Man videos for you guys to watch for a while, and I am working on some other lores. I just really wanted to do Last Stand Spidey because, you know, there's really not that much info about him. I've always tried to figure out why he went kind of rogue Red Hood vigilante, because they don't really tell you, you know, other than, you know, a couple of his friends getting killed And, you know, Gwen Stacy's dead in this universe, of course. A lot of people are dead, but he had a happy life. He was an Avenger, for crying out loud, which was kind of a new concept. There were some what-if stories, you know, in the 90s about Peter joining the Avengers, but him being a full team member of the Avengers, it's not really a thing yet. I mean, that happened later during Marvel Civil War, kind of, where, you know, Spider-Man joined up with Iron Man and stuff like that. The what-if story where Wolverine and Hulk, Grey Hulk, and a couple other people end up replacing the Fantastic Four after their demise is as close as it gets to, like, the Avengers stuff. But eventually, you know, 616 PD did end up joining the Avengers right before Civil War, I believe. He was living at Avenger Tower, he and Aunt May and all this other stuff, even after he revealed his identity and stuff like that. But Last Stand Spidey was a great member of the Avengers, and it's not like any of his powers changed or anything like that. He still had the same powers as your traditional Spider-Man. He just didn't hold back anymore. There was really no reason to. He figured, you know what? He kind of took the Damian Wayne / Red Hood approach to crime and just started taking out all of his bad guys, one after the other. He figured, you know what? These guys are never going to be reformed, and they're bad news, so screw it. I'm just going to get rid of them. And that's what he did. And that pretty much is all there is to say about Last Stand Spidey. So, just some quick little announcements while we wrap up here in this level. We will be doing the Mega Man 11 walkthrough. Amber and I have already started recording episodes of that, and we're super happy that Capcom decided to give us that game about 2 weeks early.
Someone needs a nap.
Nope, I don't need a nap. I'm wide awake. Although, not super awake, but awake enough. I haven't really slept yet today, but I will. Don't worry. Oh, that could have been bad. But yeah, we're doing Mega Man 11, and Lego DC Supervillains will be coming out the 16th of October. So that is our next big superhero outing. I would say probably the rest of this week, and maybe into the start of October, you'll still have some side quest missions. We finished most of those today. Or, excuse me, last night. Technically today, it was early in the morning. And I still have some other costume showcases for you guys. I don't know if I'm going to go full-blown stuff with 2099, other than just talking about what the suit does and its power in this game, because I've talked quite a bit about Miguel in some of the other Spider-Man games that we played, like Shattered Dimension and Edge of Time. Those games are all super centered on Miguel. So, one lore that I really want to dive into a lot is Noir Spidey, the Bogard Spidey, and the fact that Nicolas Cage is playing the character in the upcoming Spider-Verse movie has me super excited, because Cage says he's doing like a Bogard voice for the character, which is something I feel that Daniel Barnes didn't really do when he played him. So that's going to be pretty interesting. You could kind of say that both these characters, Last Stand Spidey and Noir Spidey, are kind of similar in their approach of not really holding back anymore. But you have to remember that that Spider-Man comes from the Great Depression, and this is a Spider-Man who literally had everything and just kind of lost it after a few friends were killed. He had a loving wife, he had a son, he was an Avenger. Oh yeah, that's right, webbing don't work against these guys. So I mean, I can't understand the mindset of why he would essentially go Red Hood. It just, I guess it was a cool story, but it was incredibly rushed, and they were just kind of like, you know what, we have to think of a cool way how Spider-Man dies, and it's like, really? A shootout with the NYPD? It's kind of lame. I mean, the one universe where they had May Parker be the Spider-Girl, you know, inheriting her dad's superpowers and stuff like that. The Spider-Girl comics from the 90s. I believe Peter ended up dying in a fight with Green Goblin, but I don't remember. That or he lost a leg. There was something traumatic that made him retire being Spider-Man and just focus on being a family man. But this Peter was a family man, so yeah, I've always kind of wrestled with that. I've always liked the costume, and I like the ruthlessness of the character, but I just don't feel like his stories were executed very well. I was happy when they brought back the Last Stand.
Spider-Man, I did some research. All the people they're holding did is protest Sable's heavy-handed tactics.
Gotcha. I'm launching a protest myself right now. I'll let you know how it goes.
I would just keep the protesters locked up, but that's just me. Or just, you know, leave them there until the police came. And you're done. That's enough of, okay. Alright, you know what? And yeah, I know you guys are like, well, there's a lot of, you're more consistent with the Arkham stuff. One, I know
You do this for money, right? Well, how much to lay off?
I know Batman more. It's easier to do Batman lore because Batman is not a chatty Cathy like Spider-Man. Spider-Man likes to literally interrupt every 5 minutes. There's always something going on in this world. Like, Yuri can call at any time, MJ can call. There is thug speech and stuff like that every once in a while. But this game is super distracting for a guy with ADD. Like, there's so much going on that it's hard for me to stay on topics, even like glancing at bullet points real quick. Also, this character, he really doesn't have all that much. I mean, he was kind of like an Elseworld character that appeared, as far as I know, in 5 issues. And then when you thought it was Last Stand Spidey in the Spider-Verse comic series, turned out it was Uncle Ben from another universe that just had a similar costume to this guy. And, you know, that Ben Parker paid the price for being the Spider-Man of his universe because his nephew and his wife were murdered by his supervillains. I mean, that's pretty dark. So, if anybody should have gone super crazy as Last Stand Spidey, it should have been Ben Parker. But, whatever. It's Marvel. Sometimes Marvel just doesn't make sense. And you're done. Bye-bye, thanks for playing. But I love the ability. The unrelenting fury. It just helps me let off some steam there. Okay, so we got 2 enemies left in this area. Where are you guys at? Oh, I guess that counted as an enemy. Okay, well, learn something new. Probably from now on, I will end up at least removing the subtitles and lowering the audio quality of the different characters talking, because it does get kind of annoying when I'm trying to just talk. That's something that people learned over time with the Arkham games, which people may or may not like, but I'm not gonna do every single suit lore because not a lot of costumes in this game interest me. I have about like 5 or 6 I like, and ones that I think would make really good topics like Noir Spidey and New 2099. That should do it. That's it, Spidey. We did it.
All that drama. For what?
I don't know. It's way too much drama these days, Spidey, I agree. Alright, so, how many of you guys started throwing rocks at the protest, or glass bottles? Tear gas. Was it a peaceful protest? Should I just keep you in there till the police come? I'll let you out. You wearing the mask because you're sick, or you're trying to hide your identity?
The area's secure and the cells are all empty.
Officially, I can't condone that. Unofficially, thanks.
You know, we actually were just gonna collect a bunch of spider tokens, but we didn't end up doing it. That's okay, though. So anyway, that is the Last Stand Spider-Man. So just to recap again, older Spider-Man, estranged wife, all his family's dead, went crazy, started killing people, ended up dying in a battle with NYPD. But anyway, people, that's it. That's all. More Spider-Man tomorrow and more spider lore later this week. Until we meet again, God bless and happy gaming.